picture Geordie Journo's back as a threesome, back as we should be.
Good to have you back there.
Yeah, I know there's a little bit of that.
Back with a win as well.
I know there's a little bit of that in the live. People are like, "Oh, he's alive."
I didn't think you would be.
No, I mean I was worried.
Go for that.
I was. Yeah, no, it was a tricky period, but we're back as a three, back with 3 points. Love it. Well, there's probably more questions than answers we can take from that one at the City Ground. Newcastle United beating Nottingham Forest 3-2 here at a Saturday night. All the lights are going out here at Nottingham Forest, but regular watchers out there will know exactly what we're all about here at the Geordie Journos, that we're always the last in the ground and we're quite often kicked out. So if this video suddenly flips to outside of the ground, you'll know what's happened. Right, Jordan, come to you first. Initial thoughts on the game itself. I mean, a lot of that's been covered in the live, but any major talking points you think come from that game, or any? Am I wrong? Has there been some questions answered?
Oh well, yeah. I don't want to start on a negative, so I will begin on a positive, which is of course 3 points. Newcastle high scorers, scored a lot of goals recently. Unfortunately, obviously, for the weekend last weekend didn't translate at 3 points. But yeah, they're showing a bit of attacking intent, but at the other end, there's a lot of defensive frailties, and I felt they were still there today, to be honest. Seeing Dan Burn on the team sheet for as good as I think he actually did in that game, as we spoke, just we came on camera there, clear a lot of balls in the box late on, but there was a couple of times in that first half, as we expected, given what we witnessed at St James's Park on Boxing Day, where Anthony Elanga burst past them and of course got in between him and Sven Botman for the equaliser. So I think that the same problems or concerns that we had last week probably still exist today in terms of the defensive shape, because to be fair, the first 20 minutes Newcastle, the shape was excellent. Like, they controlled the first 20 minutes. It took obviously great goal by Bruno, that short corner routine, and the shape was really good. You had Kieran Trippier dropping in midfield, and Newcastle controlled it. And it looked like, well, it was a tactical tweak by Eddie Howe, but that only lasted 20 minutes, because after that Newcastle went back to a similar shape. Now I know the likes of Miley and you know Bruno were sort of interchanging between the number 8 position and number 6 position, but yeah, although they've managed to end up getting 3 points, there was still some questions that need to be answered. But I don't want to be too negative, because it you know, when you get 3 points, it always makes you feel better, but it's one of them where 3 points could have quite easily been a point again, or possibly a defeat. I thought Newcastle and parts of that game looked fragile, but to be fair to them, I suppose,
Story of the season, isn't it though?
Yeah.
So you say week in, week out, they're having to score 3 and 4 goals to get a result against anybody, home or away, and it's just a really unsustainable model. I in that live video, as I normally do, as regular watchers will know, I talked through the performance of every single one of the players, and there was barely a positive individual performance among it. But it's easy to dwell on that and think, look, they've just went and got the result today, Dom, haven't they? They've faced those challenges against a lower side who did a number on them, to be fair, a month and a half ago, 6 weeks ago. And there won't be that many teams come away from a place like this over the last season and a half with a result. Newcastle have won the last 2.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you look back at this game last season where Forest were in great form at home, and that felt like such a big win, and it was arguably one of the wins that propelled Newcastle on to claiming that 4th place spot last season. In this one, you look at it, okay, with the context of the Luton game last week, and it was similar problems like Jordan touched on, down that left side, Newcastle's left side, but ultimately they've scored 3 goals. They've got the win, and as I was saying in our previous video, 3 points today or tonight makes the Luton points seem a whole lot better now, because they've come from 2 goals down, and now it's 7 points from the last 9, 4 away wins on the bounce, 2 in the league, up to 7th in the table. Things are looking a whole lot brighter. You look back at the 90 minutes and you go, was it a perfect performance? No. In many ways, I thought Bruno Guimaraes, being the world-class player he is, Kieran Trippier showed quality as well, but as Liam said, there wasn't a lot of quality anywhere else on the pitch really from Newcastle. Bit of defensive ruggedness needed at key times, but in terms of genuine quality, I thought Bruno was the match winner in every sense of the word, and I think
you described it as almost Bruno Guimaraes' quality in the final third papered over the cracks.
It did, yeah. And I
agree with that.
I think it did, but that's why Newcastle have a player like him in the team, and that bit of quality wins your games, and it's nice to see him be that match winner for Newcastle again, because pretty much since probably his first half season here, where he was playing in a slightly more advanced role, and I think he scored 5 goals in his first 10 starts for the clubs, but since then the goals have dried up, the quality's remained, but he's been playing in a deeper role, and this season's been the same until today, where he interchanged quite nicely with Lewis Miley at times, but started in an advanced role, scored the goal, and won Newcastle the game almost single-handedly. Though I'd give a shout out to Kieran Trippier as well, because he showed some real quality with that ball into the box, and then down that right hand side sort of throughout the game.
I was quite impressed by some. You mentioned, you touched upon the 20 minutes, you touched on Bruno Guimaraes. The tactical nuance shown by Eddie Howe today was unlike much we've seen before, where he tried to address that overrun in midfield, which was seen very much so on Boxing Day, by dropping Kieran Trippier in there. The centre half's almost splitting into 3 for much of the time.
Yeah, it was.
Miley playing much deeper. I think I mentioned this in the live, and I'll go over it again. I think you look at the midfield 3 as a unit, it hasn't been working. It lacks athleticism. You can get away with 1 or 2 players like that in there, but you need some legs and athleticism and speed, and they haven't got that. So what do you do when you've got a midfield 3 in a unit that doesn't work? I like the way Eddie Howe's actually looked at the 3 players and said, right, we've got a world beater and 2 other lads. And that's not being disrespectful to Miley and Longstaff, but that is what it is. So why are we limiting Bruno Guimaraes to be the more defensive of the 3? Why don't we just take one of those lads? None of them are 100% suited to playing the deeper of the 3, but surely you take somebody out who's not as talented as your most talented player and set him free. And I think we've seen in the last half an hour against Luton, when Newcastle were chasing the game, and again today, that you put Bruno Guimaraes in enough forward positions, he's got the ability to not only create but score goals, and that could be a positive that comes out of this midfield crisis, is that there might be a realisation somewhere down the line to say, look, I'd rather take away some parts of the positive parts of a lesser player at this moment in time's game, and allow Bruno Guimaraes the freedom and ability to really influence games, particularly against lower opposition, because let's not beat around the bush here. Forest are in a relegation battle. They're 2/3 into the season. They're only a few places above the relegation zone. They are in a relegation battle. So if Newcastle United have any kind of ambitions on being in the European mix, which I know they do, then you need to be coming to places like this and winning. It flips the Boxing Day disappointment on its head. But I think that, look, I'm really frustrated with the sustainability of it. I don't think the back 4 is working as a unit. I think Sven Botman he looked like he was coming into a bit of form mid-January. And he's dropped off a cliff again.
Yeah, he's really struggled.
I think him and Almiron today were probably 2 of the worst performances I've seen from any player this season. Almiron was, and I like Miggy. I'm not.
It's his birthday, man.
It was. That's what I said. I said on the live, and happy birthday, Miggy. But that was probably the worst performance you've put in your Newcastle United career. He did his best. It was a fantastically worked first goal, but he did his best to leave it on the training ground by playing the pass short to Kieran Trippier, who under pressure put an amazing ball in and actually was able to execute it to Bruno Guimaraes. But that, I mean, that's the negatives. I've mentioned Callum Wilson. Did he say anything about the Callum Wilson injury? Because that was one thing that people were asking about.
Slight concern, so it wasn't his shoulder, it was a muscle in his arm.
Right.
So
it's probably more promising than it could have been.
Is it?
I'd say it's a muscle in his arm. Can you play through that? I'm not sure. Eddie Howe gave a typically ambiguous answer, but the fact he said it's not his shoulder, because his shoulder,
it looked like
you
popped
can't really
out,
play with a popped out shoulder, can't you? Although Jacob Murphy did 10 days later, but we'll know what happened there.
So yeah, it'll probably be, it's a not too concerning injury update. He'll be out for the rest of the season, as we know is the case with these Eddie Howe Newcastle United. As soon as the medical staff get their hands on him, there'll be there could be problems. I can't say that, can I? That's just a joke, by the way.
Well, me and Jordan were saying Callum Wilson's a bit of a Bournemouth dodger, isn't he? He doesn't like coming up against his former club. He always manages...
Get in the bin, Callum.
Always manages to get injured. Not through any fault of his own, of course, but yeah, he never... I don't think he's played a Premier League game against Bournemouth.
He hasn't, right? So the only one he played Carabao
faking
Cup.
it.
Carabao Cup.
There's no matter with him.
Can't say
He just
that.
doesn't want to score.
Fancy
against
saying
Bournemouth.
that, Dom.
He was a warrior tonight, Callum Wilson.
He put himself about and he was involved in a physical battle, but I was
Just
disappointed
didn't have
by
a sniff, didn't
it was a tough role for him, but I just thought sometimes when we needed him to hold the ball up, it bounced off him. He didn't really deal with
He
it.
had one moment, I think, in the centre circle where he turned and
Second
showed
half,
good strength.
he
and
did.
released Newcastle,
And there was one where he got
really-
fouled as well, where he held it up right, he did the right thing. He's a good player. Don't get us wrong. I'm certainly not criticising him. But it was a poor day today from I think virtually everybody in the team, apart from the flashes of quality from Bruno Guimaraes. A striker's finish from Fabian Schär. Who did he say anything about him? Because he looked like he was limping about for the full second half.
Yeah, true.
No,
he wasn't asked.
Didn't touch on him.
But yeah, he don't want to get through the game, Fabian Schär, because even when he came out for the second half, he was limping around.
He didn't want the ball.
Anthony Gordon did too. 90 minutes for him,
Yeah.
despite being on crutches.
Was there a
with
reason
boot.
why he didn't use Jacob Murphy?
Yes, Jacob
Ah,
Murphy
yeah.
picked up a calf injury in the warm up.
Oh, did he?
So he
Yes,
couldn't, yeah.
because I was.
So was he actually on the bench?
I mean, in theory, he was sat there.
Because
but
Joe White was here. I seen
He
that.
described him as unusable tonight, Jacob Murphy. Slight calf issue. So yeah, this is fresh news for Liam.
I can't believe this.
3 points, 2 new injury concerns, Callum Wilson and Jacob Murphy. But yeah, Anthony Gordon got through the 90 minutes, substituted in stoppage time. Looked like he just couldn't run anymore, but yeah, Emil Kraft comes on and then that raises, where's Jacob Murphy? And
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, he got injured in the warm-up.
I'm astounded. I'm genuinely astounded.
Calf issue, he'll be alright.
So what if he's out, right, and Wilson's out? Who the hell plays in the front three next week?
Anthony Gordon goes back as striker. Harvey Barnes gets his first start.
Yeah, Harvey Barnes got another 25 minutes tonight, didn't he? So
Yeah, he did.
need the deep heat out, don't they?
The magic sponge.
Magic sponge.
Get the magic sponge out. Hey God, we can't be too critical. We'll get cancelled. Well, I think you can guess by what we're skirting around here. What were our thoughts on the injury situation this season? Right. Any other major talking points?
Worth probably touching upon the penalty decision, which
Yes.
That was a penalty.
Nuno Espirito Santo was convinced that it was a
Gave
penalty.
our-
Called it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a penalty.
He actually said it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Sorry, no.
he said it
He said
was.
it was a penalty.
I know, but it wasn't.
Yes, no, it wasn't a penalty. No chance.
Yeah, I would have been a bit aggrieved.
I wouldn't.
To be fair, it probably sums up Dubravka's afternoon, because he came flying out for that one there at that end behind it.
He did.
Where I don't know why he did it. It was either a rush or blow.
Well,
Just a moment of madness.
he's seen Sven Botman and Dan Burn running through Treacle
Yeah.
and thought, I need to get out there. And just didn't do anything, didn't even get close to getting
But
out
then
there.
10 minutes earlier, he just didn't know he was caught in no man's land, wasn't he?
He had a couple of claims, I thought, in the first half where he was like, right, that's
He was all right. at
confidence. He'd come out, claim that. But he made himself smaller for the first goal. I don't think he could have made himself any smaller.
But even for the penalty decision, he had the opportunity to come and he just backed off, and then it probably did make contact with the. It was minimal contact, I thought, on the replay. I mean,
Trying to remember, was this the one where
it was the ball from
Matt
Matt
Sells
Sells
just
just
belted it,
through the
and
centre
Sven
of Sven
Botman just
Botman.
watched it go over his
Yeah,
head
yeah.
and get outpaced.
that was
Matt Sells nearly with an assist on his.
It was one of those where it was like, if Nick Pope would have come out for that.
Yeah.
I think that's the big difference.
Dubravka
isn't it?
doesn't suit this sweep.
His defenders have to help him a bit there. Sven Botman's
40
awful.
I say he was awful today.
40 yards from goal, just watching it.
He really was awful today. He's a good footballer, don't get us wrong, but he definitely. I see a lot of criticism of Dan Burn when people. I mean, I've talked about it on the live. I don't think there's been a massive amount, but if people like to analyse Dan Burn, and the criticism one of them is the lack of pace that he has, I wouldn't mind seeing him and Sven Botman in a foot race. I'm being serious. For a 20, how old is he? 23, 24-year-old player. It's a distinct problem in his game. He's a very good footballer, but he needs some recovery pace around him because he's got zero himself. Most of the time when he's playing well, reads the game really well, and he's a good footballer with the ball on his left foot, plays some fantastic stuff. But the recovery pace is like I say, it was watching a pair of Algrandos try to run through against Alanga. I think somebody came in the comments in the live and said, Liam, you would have given him a good foot race. You would have given him a good foot race at the Dome.
on the St James Park.
I was like that. I said that. I went, I don't think I would have. But they just need to address it. That's the elephant in the room with this back four. That I don't know how it didn't get found out last season, but there is zero Kieran Trippier makes up for it because he's a seasoned pro who's played at the highest level, who has the same issues as what Dan Burn is, because he comes narrow a lot of the time, especially today, and the winger has a run on him. But he just knows where to be, how to place his body, how to close that gap, when to close, when not to close. He's just got that awareness. Dan Burn doesn't look like he's got that awareness at all. And that's not his fault. It's bloody Eddie Howe picking him there all the time and expecting a different result. But although I do think he won his fair share of headers, like was said in the live, I think he did have value in that second half. And I thought actually, on the whole, I think there was a little, although Forest had most of the chances in the second half, I did feel like there was just a little bit more. It never 100% felt like they were really knocking on the door. That's what I thought. And I don't think Elanga got the space and run that he did in the first half. He faded in the second half. Hudson-Odoi came into it, I would say, more in the second half against Trippier and Tavares on the overlap and underlap. He was causing problems for Trippier and Gordon down that right hand side. But I didn't. I think they had a lot of ball, but they moved it sideways a lot, and I didn't really feel like, it wasn't like Dubravka was being forced to pull off save after save after save, and there were shots peppering the goal.
Not sure he made any.
No, I can't think of any myself.
Made one early on to deny Elanga, but other than that, I think his claims was his evening really.
There's a case to say Martin Dubravka might have picked the ball out of the net more saves he's actually made.
There you go.
Take out Liverpool. I mean, in general, since he's come into the team.
Well, yeah, it's 17 goals conceded since the turn of the year.
It's weird because I rarely feel. Oh look, he's been at fault for a few. Don't get us wrong. I don't really feel like he's been at fault for many of them. It's not like
he's had good games. He has had good games.
Well. Liverpool, he was outstanding. Had a great game, a couple of great saves against Man City in that home defeat as well.
I think he's been a bit iffy the last two. Dubravka.
It's one of those though. It's like good players. Martin Dubravka's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but if you want to pinpoint where Newcastle's season is derailed, you go back to Nick Pope's injury, don't you? Newcastle's form has not been.
It's probably Pope and others, but it is really. It's when Pope dropped out, they've not really been the same since.
Not Dubravka's fault.
Doesn't feel like it now. It doesn't.
But players who look good in losing teams or struggling teams, it's a different sort of kettle of fish to players who look good in winning teams. But obviously Newcastle won tonight, but I think only one, maybe two players did look actually good.
But that's what I'm saying. Like we can still talk about a defeat and it still be win, and it still be framed in a negative context in some ways. The result is brilliant, and it's great that Newcastle United pick up 3 points on the road. They're almost putting to bed that real start of the season where it was a struggle from September onwards, where they didn't look like getting anything anywhere unless it was in the cups. They're starting to get results. They went to Villa Park. Villa have gone off the rails, there's no doubt about that, and to a certain extent since the turn of the year. But still to go there and get a result, get a fantastic result, largely at a canter as well, outplaying them for a good part of that game, and coming here and grinding something out today. I think Nottingham Forest would probably. I think the fans who would sit in these seats around where we are now would probably have walked away thinking they shaded that game and they probably created more chances and had more ball and deserved something out of this game. But Newcastle United showed final third quality that wasn't evident for Nottingham Forest, and that's why they're at the bottom end and Newcastle United are a bit higher.
Approaching the top end.
Yeah, a little bit higher.
Back to seventh.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, it's the goals conceded. You can't expect to challenge for European places.
Was that stop before the game?
Yeah.
At this stage last season, they'd conceded 15 goals, and then this time it was 37.
Conceded 17 just in 2024, I think.
That's what I mean.
Since they last played Forest on Boxing Day.
So they had to score 3 to get a win today. They had to score 4 to get a draw last time out. It's just not sustainable. You can't be expected that. There's only Man City and Liverpool who scored more goals in the Premier League than Newcastle United. The goals isn't a problem. They're creating chances. I think I know many people who watch this probably won't like this, but the XG thing. I think Newcastle United have created. I think there's been more XG in Newcastle United games than there has been in any, and I think they've created the most out of anybody.
Yeah.
But there will come a time where goals dry up, and if you're conceding 3 every week,
we don't have a striker as well.
Don't go there again. I'm gone.
Newcastle just won. They've scored 3 goals.
It's a negative video.
No strikers that scored.
Isak's close, but I don't know when he'll be here. I don't know
No
when he'll
fixed
be,
return.
I don't know when he'll be available. That's blatantly not going to be Bournemouth next week, is it?
No.
Doesn't sound like it anyway.
No.
I mean, if we can judge anything by his
We've
comments,
got Bruno and Fabian Sherman.
is Share fit?
Yeah.
They scored the goals.
There's a lot of
They've
players.
lost it,
There's a
haven't
lot of players that clearly aren't fit, but are being flogged anyway because there's no in many positions there's no one else. But that's been the story of the season. And when you feel like they start to get players back, they lose another one. I'm sure every game since probably Boxing Day there's been a new injury.
Yeah. Forest was Lascelles and Wilson. What was Liverpool?
But we've now ran out of players to come back as well. There isn't anybody. Like, he talks about Joe Willock, but Joe Willock's been close for 9 months.
I think this
I wouldn't hold any hopes anybody out there that he's suddenly going to turn up and be in the team because the nature of the injury that he's had and the amount of time that he's been out. And obviously we know a few details about the nature of Elliot Anderson's injury. I don't think we're going to be clicking our fingers and seeing them back anytime soon. So these newest injuries in many ways could be even more damaging than the ones we've seen previously. Just when you start to feel like there's options.
The snowball effect, isn't it?
It is very much so. I don't know how much further the snowball can go without it. What will the snowball do? Crumble? Burst?
Melt.
Melt. Yeah.
It's probably another video for another time, though, isn't it? We could talk all day about injuries, but we've just witnessed a entertaining game of football.
Oh, it was a great game of football. Great.
Not high on quality.
How many good games? Look, so we're talking about the goals conceded. Like Man City was one for the ages for the neutral. This one, Luton was
Liverpool
class.
was. I mean,
You know, if you're neutral, you'd
chances
be.
galore.
Oh, a light's gone out.
Lights out.
Lights out for the Geordie Journals. Do you think that's probably a sign?
Yes.
Yes. We're
lights
starting to
had
waffle
enough.
again. Yeah.
You're starving,
I'm starving. Only thing
and
I
I've
have
got
a day
I've got some work to do. So
Yeah.
we probably should call it a day if you can still see we're in there. Right, like, comment, share, subscribe for all your Geordie Journals content, and we'll try our best to have a threesome. No, can't say that. Try my best to be a threesome. This is some ending. We'll try to be a trio from now on.
Got through 22 minutes, one take, and then you end it like that.
Just leave it in.
Yeah, go on then.
Just leave it in. It's just me being a dafty. Right, like, comment, share, subscribe for all your Geordie Journals content.